Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to do a little bit of an interesting thing. I'm going to look at an Eagle Claw reel, and well, we're going to look at why it failed. But before we did, I get asked that question enough. Who was Wright and McGill? Wright and McGill was the producer of Eagle Claw hooks, Wright and McGill. And a lot of times we just kind of wonder about that, right? Who's Wright and McGill? Well, Wright and McGill were the founders of the company, and the company is celebrating its 100th birthday. Now, it was formed by two individuals. The first one was Stanley Wright, who was a doctor, and Andrew McGill, called Drew McGill, who was a salesman for a sporting goods company. Both of those lived out in the Denver, Colorado area. Both of them were avid fly fishermen. And as a side hustle, in today's words, Drew McGill used to make trout flies that were, well, gained a lot of popularity out in the area. Well, they formed the business to promote the trout flies first, and then, well, as legend has it, they were out fishing for trout, taking a break under a tree. An eagle flew overhead, and they noticed that the talon on the eagle was offset, and they thought that would be a great idea for a hook, to use an offset hook, and they began manufacturing the Eagle Claw hooks in 1925, a century ago. Well, things progressed. They got involved in rod manufacturing by purchasing a rod manufacturer pre-war, and they started making hooks for the survival kits for the Air Force pilots during World War II. So they were able to continue the operation, even though steel was severely rationed at the time. Their inclusion of hooks into survival kits enabled them to keep the production going through the war years. And then after the war, they started manufacturing the fishing reels. And the first one, this is not the first one, but this is a reel of the time. First one was actually a Sidewinder reel. This one was a little bit later. This one was the Eagle Claw model 88B, so this is a little bit later. Unfortunately, this one has a cracked plastic case, but otherwise it's their reel. And the reels started coming about 1951, and were made pretty much in the U.S. and Japan, and then later this example, which is the one we're going to look at, was made in Taiwan. So, brief history of Eagle Claw. If you want to find more about that, it's their centennial. There's a fellow that works for Eagle Claw, is doing a series of videos on YouTube. I would recommend that you go watch them. They're going into their museums and into their libraries and giving a lot more information than I ever could on Wright and McGill and the Eagle Claw Company. All right, well, this one is an Eagle Claw. This is the model GT20. It's a graphite and titanium frame. That must be the titanium. I don't know. This one is a lever drag reel that is absolutely totally frozen. So that one's got my curiosity up, because most of the time you'll find that a lever drag reel will have an issue somewhere along the line with this, the lever of the reel itself. But this one, I can't turn it. I can hardly turn it. I can, with a lot of effort, just turn it a little bit. Can't turn the handle at all, and that always leads me to my curiosity. My curiosity is, why do fishing reels fail? What's the weak points? Is it an unusual failure, or is it something that is just a bad design that causes it to fail in many of the models of the reels? And well, I use it as a learning experience. And this one didn't cost me much because, well, it doesn't work. But it is a good example of a tuition reel where you can learn an awful lot by spending a few dollars taking the reel apart and trying to figure out for yourself how it's made, how to service it, how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. Well, that's what we're going to do today. And if you like those kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. That notification button will let you know when I'm posting. And I cover all kinds of reels. And as you just heard, a little bit about who made the reels, when they were made, what their purposes are, and well, just a general kind of information gathering and dispersion kind of a service that helps you learn more about the fishing industry and helps you decide on reels that you like and reels that you would like to learn more about. Now, we've just removed the tie-down clamp and screw. Now we're going to try and remove the handle, and I'm not quite sure how much of anything we're going to be able to get done, but we are going to try to remove the handle here. And I think the next thing we would want to do is to remove this outer case, because something's jammed up in the case itself, right? So this is the pre-spool adjuster, and this is a good example of where to go to take pictures, because you're never quite sure if you're going to be able to find a schematic for a reel. A lot of the reels manufactured for brands that are not necessarily reel manufacturers are made with what we call trade reels. And those trade reels are often made by other companies for the other brands, right? So this would be a complementary product to the Eagle Claw lineup. And well, just taking this off, this is very much like a Shimano kind of inset to that. All right, we're going to pull this off. And one thing's for certain, there's a lot of rust. So I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, this is rusted, got a main gear that's rusted into the case, which it shouldn't be because, well, the case is graphite. Graphite shouldn't rust. All right, we're going to remove the guide ring for the reel. Again, take pictures. Those pictures will be invaluable should you have to walk away from something and then come back to it and forget where you left off, or what the orientation of a particular part was, or the sequence that you took it off in. Notice that the two outer sides are your stops, your free spool stop and your max drag stop. The flat-headed screw is the one that holds it in here, and you need to take that off in order to access the screws behind it. And again, this kind of a setup, well, almost looks like a Shimano does. How do I know the Shimano's? Because, well, there's so many of these screws that hide behind that guide ring. When I take these off, I like to make sure that I lay them on my desk so that I know if there's any screws that are different. Particularly if this was made by Shimano. I don't think it was, but if it was made by Shimano, Shimano has a habit of making screws longer or shorter for certain parts of the reel. The reason I say I don't think it was made by Shimano, this one was made in Taiwan, and Shimano has plants in Malaysia, Japan, lower end in China now, but I don't remember or recall seeing a plant in Taiwan. I could be wrong. All right, this is the fifth one. So this should give us access to the inside to see what's going on. All 5 of those screws are the same. When I take the screws out, as I do with the other parts, I put them into a parts tray. I recommend that you have a way to deal with the parts that you remove. And what we're going to remove next is the gear side plate. Okay, well, there you go. I'm going to guess that it's all that broken line in there that's causing the issue. At least it's a good start, right? So we have line that's wrapped around our pinion gear. Looks like it's caught up in the side plate here. And this one may just get back pretty quick and easy. Not sure, but we can hope, right? Now, the internal architecture of this is not exactly like anything I've seen. This is an interesting setup here. Looks like we have a buildup of broken line causing this issue. All right, we're going to try. We have a frozen gear in here. We saw that. Let's see if we can push the main gear out. I'm not sure on that either. Well, we're going to spray this down, and then we're going to look at the other side of the reel, see if there's anything we can do here to improve that. So first piece is that was put aside because of all this broken line, and boy did that get chewed up, right? Let's see if we can pull this out now. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the case. This really got chewed up. So somebody snapped some line on this. Then it looks like they just continued to grind and grind until it stopped. Couldn't figure out why it became an issue. Oh, look at this side. So that line was in both sides of this. And, well, yeah, that'll cause an issue for sure, right? I can't tell you how many times this happens. And people, well, why does it happen? Well, one of the things is that these are not sealed reels. They can't be. You have an open spool. That open spool sits with a corner on both sides. And, well, if you have slack in that spool at the corners, that will cause the line to go inside from time to time. Well, we found out what the issue is on this. Look at that. Turns free and easy now, right? All right, well, that's a good sign. Let's take a look while we're at it, because we can. Take a look at what's going on. This one very much looks like a lot of this architecture belongs to Shimano. There's 3 screws that are holding on the drag plate here. We can remove those. Those are Phillips head screws. Looks like I'm going to need a micro driver for those. They're small heads on them. So we'll grab that. I like to keep my tools close at hand on the bench, just so I don't have to put things down. I have to put things down and walk away from the project. Bad things tend to happen. So we should have a drag washer under here. We should have a pressure plate under here. And we should have an indication as to whether there's any more broken line under here, because there's a lot of stuff, as we mentioned, that's going on. I'm just going to lay these 3 screws down. And I haven't seen this kind of a setup before with the plastic parts. Here is the retaining clip. Here's our pressure plate, top washer or top bushing. Or in this case it's a bearing. Bottom bearing, spring, and a very hefty drag washer. So we're good there. Going to put a little bit of penetrating oil in to loosen this up. I may come back and replace these. Right now the challenge really is about getting this reel running again. I want to make sure inside. This is the pressure plate. This is your drag washer. When you apply pressure to the lever pulls and compresses. And that compression is how you engage the drag. Okay, we locked up that side. Let's go over to this side. I've pulled the pin. There should be a bearing under here, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just throw some oil on it for now. And as I mentioned, we may come back and change it. There's hope here that we should be able to get this fishing reel going again. Looks like the cause of the issue here was not mechanical, but rather it was human error, if you will. And boy, did they tangle that up. I'm just going to flood this bearing for now. We also have some tension washers on the back side of this, and we'll just go ahead and put that right back. That's why I left these 2 little screws here. And again, reminding you, take pictures. And here's another one I want to remind you of. Ask questions. If you're watching this video and you have any questions about either a procedure or the reel, or maybe you're working on a different reel and you're just having problems with it, maybe something is going undiagnosed, you just can't figure out why the reel is behaving as it is. Well, I've got some experience here with all the reels that I see, and I'll try to help you out with that if I can. Now, I get some oddball questions from time to time, reels I haven't seen or worked on, and maybe I Maybe I can only speak generally about what those issues may be, but I'll try and help you out with questions that you leave in the comments section. All right, well, I just want to put a rubber band on this for now to hold tight. Again, if I can get this running, we'll strip all this line out. We'll probably go back and change those bearings. And you know what? This would be a nice little reel. So what's this reel used for? It's a trolling reel. It's used for inshore ocean. And, well, it can handle some nice-sized fish. Now, this line looks a little light for inshore ocean, but you could also use this for catfishing and the like. And I'm thinking by the time I get done here, this will probably be a nice little casting reel too. Kind of is the same size as a pen, what do they call them? 25s, I guess. And this one's a 20, 25. This one's a 25 too. All right, now that spins nice and free and easy. Now we've got to rid of all of that stuff. So I'm going to take a break for a second here. We'll come back and we'll see if that penetrating oil did anything to the side plate. Okay, we're back. So we've had this sitting in some penetrating oil. I want to say all the time that we've worked on that and then a little bit more because I just took that break. Let's see if we can loosen this up now. That was stuck before. Oh, we've got movement. Good. Oh, there you go. All right, so we have a little shield for the bearing. Put that in the corner of my box. Yeah, see, we still have all that broken line in there, so that's probably what's causing this to be the issue. So let's go ahead and clean that gear out there. I bet you that bottom one's going to turn free and easy now. And let's just see. I'm going to grab this. Here's what I'm always afraid of. I got this broken line that came out of the reel. I try to be careful about it, but it sometimes just winds up on the bench and becomes problematic. All right, I'm going to take a bristle brush and pull through, make sure that I clear all those channels from this. Yeah, look at all the broken line that's sitting inside those teeth. That'll certainly cause it to be an issue. All right, so celebrating 100 years of Wright and McGill, and well, no shame in this reel for them. It's actually a nice, well-made reel, and it's right up there as I mentioned. The design almost looks like Shimano, and or Penn. It's made in Taiwan, which is a little bit of an interesting one. This is a Shimano, kind of an anti-reverse there. Let's see if we can pop that. Oh, look at that. We might be able to get this main gear out of here. Oh, we can. Very much a Shimano kind of design there. Yeah, even the bearing's turning. Now this one's going to be noisy, and maybe what I'll do, as I mentioned, if I can get this one cleaned up enough, what we'll do is we'll change out those bearings a little later. For now, this was trying to learn what's going on here, and well, I think what we've learned out is that this is human error. Here we go again. Look at this line. Now, this line is everywhere, and that's obviously what jammed it up. Another piece. Here's another piece. And you got to get all of this out. If you don't get it all out, it's just going to jam the gears again. Well, I'd like to see what this person was doing as they were fishing this, because they really ground it up. Very unusual to see this much. Usually one piece gets in there, gets stuck, they say, okay, something's wrong. Looks like they just kept trying to fish this reel. Look at all of that line in there. Just checking to make sure that we've got it all out of there. That's another piece. One more piece. Here's another piece over here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I think we're good. All right, we're going to give this a quick, more line, quick review. Fold that over so those pieces don't get in here. This looks good. These teeth, well, we're going to do the same thing with these that we did with the other because, well, we saw how many little pieces of line got caught in the other one. Same thing here. All right, very good. All right, this sounds exciting. I think we're going to have some positive performance. We're going to take our moment here to grease up the main gear. And if you happen to have one of these, you're learning how to rebuild it. Grease on the teeth, grease on the shaft. bring the shaft in. This is your anti-reverse dog. It's got a hook. Right here, there's a spring with a hook. What we're going to be doing is bringing the gear in, and then we're going to pull this side up to bring this down to enable it to seat inside that anti-reverse ratchet. Bring it to there, hold pressure on your main gear, pull up on your anti-reverse dog until you're fully seated there. Holding your gear tight, go for your sleeve, and then for now I think we want to put the handle on there so that we hold all of that tight. Handle nut cap. That should keep it in place, and it should prevent that anti-reverse from breaking down. Okay, that's that. I still have that darn little line. Wow. Okay. We have our shim washer. Run on the back of the pinion gear. Have our pinion gear. A little bit of grease onto that pinion gear. And then we can try to merge the case. Now this is not the way I prefer to do it, but we have that little shim washer there for the bearing, which makes it a little tough. I normally prefer to put that in here because there is a little bit of a twisting action going on here. Okay, once you've seated that, let's see if we can put a couple of screws in here to hold this down. Then we'll get an indication as to whether it's going to be a performer or not. So the only thing left then is to see if that lever is going to work the way it should. I'm going to just kind of go in a triangular pattern here. This is always fun when you pay a few dollars for a reel and you find out you can repair the reel and give it a second chance, as opposed to just learning from it. The value of learning is all by itself. Certainly payment for the couple of dollars I spent on the reel, but the joy and satisfaction of bringing it back to fishing status is even better, right? All right, 2 more of these. Then I'm going to take a little scrubby pad and try and clean up behind there before I go any further. And I think what we will do, well, we don't know. We're assuming that the bearings are going to be noisy, and it'll probably be something I will want to replace. But at the moment, I just want to make sure that I can make it run. All right, those 4 are there. I'll take a little scrubby pad and some rod and reel cleaner. Just use that to work behind the scenes here. So what's gone wrong? Well, somebody didn't pay attention, trapped an awful lot of line in there, just kept fishing, and well, pretty much rendered this unworkable. The last of the case screws installed. I seem to remember when doing this type of a thing, when you have a beak, sometimes it's easier just to run it through, get it started on here, because that's a hard thing to bring in otherwise. So put that on first, bring it all down, locate it over the pilots, and then this tension screw, the tapered screw here, usually a good place to start. That way you're not wrestling the collars on the 2 stops as you're trying to stabilize this piece. Those little push buttons for your max drag will hold the assembly in place. It's generally a good thing to try and stabilize it with that center one. All right, next up we'll put the max stop in. And there's one over on this side. That's the min stop or free spool stop. And this may all be for naught. It may not run at the end of the day, but from everything I'm seeing, it should run, and well, should be able to go fishing again. But one never knows. All the teeth checked out. I think I got all those broken pieces of line out of there. All right, on this side we have 2 valleys. On here we have the 2 ramps. To set this, you want to bring your free spool over here. We're going to just put a quick spray of some oil in there just to loosen it up. Find the square and the 2 valleys. That's what you're going for in setting this up. You want the valleys in. This one's set in nice and easy. The 2 valleys in there in free spool. And generally your adjuster will work when done that way. If you try to mount it anywhere else, sometimes you're in the wrong position. It just doesn't work right. Time to take off the gloves and give it a final test here. So we're all hopeful, fingers crossed. So we're in free spool and our reel spins nice and easy. Actually, I'm not even hearing the burring noise in that. How do you like that? We know that the drags are fresh. Let's go over to first strike. Stops the spool. That means the drag is engaging. That's pretty weak there. Let's go over to the full. Yeah, we still got slip. All right. Always adjust your free spool and your tensioner and your preset adjuster in the free spool mode. Just another crank or 2 here should do it. Again, nice for casting. First strike is much more solid now. I feel that already. Yeah. And I guess I probably adjusted it too much. Back it off a little bit. It's a trial and error kind of a thing. Back it off a little bit. Let it run. First strike. Push for your max drag. Bring it all the way over. Oh yeah, you're locked down tight. Look at that. Wow. So for a relatively inexpensive trial project to try and figure out what's gone wrong with this reel, well, we have another reel that we can take fishing. I think we got that one right now. Very good. There it is. That's your Eagle Claw Model 25 GT20 lever drag fishing reel with a whole bunch of broken line in there that, well, we just can't quite figure out. So what do we do next? Well, there's another one. We're not going to do that on this one, but this is a Fluger Contender, and guess what? It's not working. Something real strange going on in here beyond just the adjuster. So when I get a chance, this is another, cost you a few dollars, you're all locked up, not sure what's going on. We'll figure it out. Hopefully we'll have the same one. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, and rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I truly do appreciate everything it is that you do to keep us safe and your dedication to task. I want to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate your viewership, your comments, and your keeping the channel vibrant and, well, informative. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.